So, Animal Farm by George Orwell. Finished this one tonight in like a couple of hours. It's only 139 pages. Very quick to read. Going into it, I know George Orwell did 1984. I know it's supposed to be political. I thought this was a donkey on the front, and the pig, I didn't know if it was supposed to represent something. So I thought it was like about Democrats, Republicans, or something. But apparently it's about communism. And maybe some other themes that are kind of like symbolic in there. I know there's like this raven that's kind of supposed to represent the church. Because he's like, okay, so it's about these animals on a farm. It's like a fairy tale. The animals can all talk. They kind of learned how to read and write from these books that they found in the trash at this guy Jones's farm. Right? So they kind of like start a rebellion, and they kick Jones off of his own farm and they take it over for themselves. And you have to like kind of take this with a grain of salt, because they're doing some kind of things. They're building a windmill. They're like doing stuff that you should have to have hands to do. But the whole thing is supposed to be symbolic of communism. And it does the opposite. It kind of made me want to be a communist. Because I'll tell you why. Let me find, like, they end up kicking this guy off his own farm. So I guess originally with Jones, they were in a capitalistic society. And they kick him off. And they have this song that they all sing called The Beasts of England. And it's kind of like, I guess, one of those communist propaganda songs that the Russians would do. And they came up with these 7... Let me find the thing. I'll be faster if I Google it. There's not that many pages. What page was this on? They come up with kind of like a constitution, but it's these 7 rules. And they changed the name of the farm from the Manor Farm to the Animal Farm. Where the fuck is it? No, it's on the left. Fuck it. Okay, I'm going to Google it. Animal Farm. 7 Commandments. That's what they're on. So, the 7 Commandments are: whatever goes upon 2 legs is an enemy. Whatever goes upon 4 legs or has wings is a friend. No animal shall wear clothes. No animal shall sleep in a bed. No animal shall drink alcohol. No animal shall kill any other animal. All animals are equal, right? So, what happens is, I guess it's supposed to be kind of like what happened with actual communism in Russia and China. And what was that other country? Like, the South American one. Venezuela? I don't know. I don't know that much about communism. I know it's like supposed to be, like everybody says, communism works in theory. And the only reason it doesn't work is because they don't follow the fucking rules. Somebody gets greedy and they try to keep everything for themselves. And that's exactly what happens. But my thing is, if they just follow the rules, communism would work. But they don't. So have we ever really tried communism? No. Nobody's ever really tried it. They've always broken the fucking rules. So it makes it seem like communism's good. It's just like nobody can actually follow it because somebody gets greedy every time. That's what I've always felt about it. So these animals, right? The pigs are supposed to represent the greedy ones because they're the ones that are like the smart ones, and they convince all the other animals, like, I don't know what seizing the means of production means. So I've got that Ayn Rand book back there. I haven't read it yet. I think it may be in that or something at the Fountainhead. But they convince, like, the chickens, you lay all these eggs and the farmer gets them. You don't even have your own children. And, like, the cow gave, like, 4 foals, and then he sold them when they were a year old. You never get to see your foals, your babies anymore. And, give all this milk. He milks you, and he sells your milk. He drinks your own milk. You don't get any. Basically, all the goods from your labor is taken by the farmer, and that's wrong. So they rebel, they have a rebellion, and they make up these rules. But then the pigs, slowly over time, they start becoming the farmer, and they convince the others that the commandments are not what they originally said they were. They start changing them. The pigs start sleeping in the farmer's bed. One of the rules: no animal shall sleep in a bed. And they're like, well, everybody sleeps in a bed. Just a mound of hay is a bed. It's just like the actual rule was no animal shall sleep in a bed with sheets, and we got rid of the sheets, so we sleep in bed with blankets now. They're like, oh, okay, I guess that's okay then. So they're already breaking the rules. Once you break the rules, it's not communism anymore. And then they started drinking beer. They started like growing barley instead of like the other stuff, or corn or roots or whatever it was they were planting for the other animals. And they started taking the barley and making beer out of it. They started drinking it. One of the rules is no animal shall drink alcohol. And then this one little pig named Squealer, he goes in, he like paints over it, and he says no animal shall drink alcohol to excess. It's like, oh, that's the rule. And then it's like, there's all this like spy stuff, I guess, where they keep saying these surrounding farms that they're trying to like get those animals to rebel. And there's like the pig starts. There's a pig named Napoleon. There's also this pig named Snowball, who was like they were kind of debating each other, and he ran Snowball off. And the farmer came back and tried to take his farm back, and he shot Snowball, and he like scarred him on the back. And he's like, the first they called him a hero, and then they changed their story later, and he tries to make him like remember it differently. Like, no, actually, he was fighting for the farmer, and the other guy, Napoleon, caused those marks on his back. Like, they keep changing it incrementally over time and convincing them all of this stuff. It doesn't help that a lot of the animals are really dumb and they can't even like read or write or learn the alphabet. Like the horse. The horse does all the work. And he ends up like getting taken away at the end to like be turned into glue and whatever killed. So the sheep are like pretty dumb. They reduce the 7 commandments down to 2 legs good, 4 legs bad, or something like that. So they keep having these meetings, you know, about like, we got to get this windmill going. The horse does all the work, pulling the rocks up from the quarry to build this windmill. And the windmill is supposed to give them electricity and like heating and lights and like run all these machines so they don't have to do any work. But then it turns out like it doesn't do any of that. It just grinds up the whatchamacallit, the barley or whatever to make liquor or to sell it. And then the pigs keep all the money. And they use the money to buy things from the humans. They start dealing with the humans. Then they start wearing clothes like the humans. And they start walking on 2 fucking legs like a human. And then it's like you can't even tell the pigs from the people. And it's the same thing. But it's turned back into capitalism again. Right? So I'm reading this book. And I'm watching everything turn into like the pigs are the greedy ones. And they're like the 1%ers, you know, they have all this stuff and everybody else is working their ass off and not getting anything from it. And you're describing capitalism to me. This is supposed to be about communism, but it's like you're talking about capitalism. Capitalism is what happens when that happens. That's where we're at right now. So why are we... we ended up like... Everybody says communism is bad because it's actually capitalism that's bad, and they don't want us to do communism. I think we're being tricked right now, guys. We're the fucking animals. Maybe either way it turns into that, because there's going to be greed no matter what kind of society you have. Democratic socialism, maybe, because I think that's what George Orwell was, a democratic socialist when he got back from the war. But I don't know. This is like... I feel like this book is going to really sit with me for years and make me think about things, but it's like... What is the deal with communism? Communism is like everybody... Yeah, nobody wants to be like the janitors and like clean up shit because everybody gets paid exactly the same. Nobody wants to do the shit jobs. Everybody wants to do the cush jobs. And then you got like these disparities between like the horse can do more work and the chickens can't do all that much. So why would they get equal rations or equal food or whatever? But then, I don't know. There's no real good way to do it, to do anything. And then you have the problem with like guns and stuff, like people like taking things by force, and there's a lot of problems if you tried to like make an equal society. People wouldn't stand for it. But if capitalism don't work either, though, nothing works. That's the problem, is that nothing works. I could figure it out if you give me time. Anyway, Animal Farm. I highly recommend you read it, just to like, I don't know, get it in your head like what it's about.